Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Finding Magic podcast, where we talk about structured intuition, creativity, and magic, as discussed in my book, Getting into the Flow. There it is. Hold it up right. There you go. And we learn from our guest stories as well, and it helps us broaden our view of reality and understand how magic is created and sensed so that we can realize our own true potential and create our lives as purposeful and powerful and from an inspired and joyful place. I'm Vincent, your host. Let's get into it. And in today's episode, I'll be interviewing the lovely Kate McCavana and inviting her to share a story of magic showing up in her life. Kate is a transformational leader, spiritual explorer, and channel. Passionate about living to her highest potential, Kate illuminates the path for others to transcend the perceived limitations of human experience and lead magical, charmed lives while staying grounded in the modern world. Her work draws on various metaphysical philosophies and principles and combines channeling with cutting-edge science and the mechanics of creation. A former archaeologist, plumber, and $50 million award-winning consultant to entrepreneurs worldwide, these days, Kate approaches life as a magical adventure, living on the razor's edge and following intuitive breadcrumbs wherever they may lead. Kate is going to tell us about a time when magic changed the course of her life. So I'm going to invite you, Kate, to tell us your story, starting with some of the background around it. What was happening before the actual event that you're going to tell us about?
Well, first of all, thank you, Vincent, for inviting me to share this story. This is a story of how magic transformed my life, how specifically I met my husband in a cupboard. This is the story of two powerful creators dancing across timelines. And just to set the scene for you, about 6 months before this life-changing meeting happened, I had a party. I was in my late 20s and I had a party, and very, very dear friends of mine asked if they could bring a friend of theirs to my party. And I said, yeah, sure, of course you can. Ewan, my husband, tells me that that's the day he met me. That's the day he saw me. That's the day he decided he was going to manifest a version of me into his life. Now, the funny thing is, I didn't see Ewan at that party.
Wow.
I was completely blind to his presence there, completely and utterly. What's the word? Looking in other directions, enjoying a different life. Okay. We fast forward 6 months. 6 months later, I did something very, very unusual. I was intuitively guided, nudged to hire a house in Norfolk here in the UK, and hire a big house and fill it full of friends. Now, despite being able to throw a good party, I've always been chronically shy. I've always been one of those kinds of people that when you speak to them, they just go bright red. So beetroot was my nickname when I was at school. I was like a little walking beetroot, always bright red. So for me, this was a very unusual thing to do, but I just thought, well, I'm going to do this. I didn't really know where the inspiration came from, but it felt good. And the day before this weekend, these same friends said, could we bring our friend Ewan to this weekend? We would really love to introduce him to our other friend, Kate. We think they'd make a great couple. And me, of course, yeah, of course. He just got back from New Zealand. I think the week before, having gone to find himself and, explore all things that you do.
That's a long way to go to find yourself.
It's a long way to go to find yourself. But so you'd arrived back. And I remember, I will never forget it. I will never forget the Friday evening, chatting away in this beautiful, beautiful, big country house in North Norfolk, with a friend of mine in the kitchen. And there was a knock on the door, and in walked this human being called Ewan. And I remember going, oh, hello. I saw him for the first time. And yet I knew that there was let's say, a creation being manufactured, a connection, a blind date as such being manufactured. So I just acknowledged this fine specimen of humanity and left it at that. 24 hours later, we were playing a game that is known as Sardines. Have you ever played Sardines?
The name rings bells, but I can't remember ever playing it.
It's such a cool game.
I think I've even had my kids play it, but I can't remember how it goes.
Yeah. So the rules of Sardines, it helps if you have a very big house and lots of people. And the rules of Sardines are one person goes and hides. And they choose a place that, a few people could fit into, otherwise it's a bit silly. And the game unfolds as each and every person stumbles across or finds the person who's hidden and climbs into the hiding place with them, leaving one sorry soul wandering around looking for the crowds, whilst the crowds are trying to stay silent, hidden under a bed or in a cupboard or whatever it was. So we were playing a game of Sardines, and given that I hadn't seen this gentleman all day, we'd been on completely different paths, we'd been hanging out with different people. I was the one who hid that day, or this round of that day. And I hid in a cupboard. No one found me for a very, very, very long time, until the door opened and the person that walked into the cupboard, that felt their way into the cupboard, the person that knew there was something in this cupboard, despite the fact that the cupboard door had been opened several times before, and I'd done a masterful job of. The person that came into the cupboard was Ewan. And so there the two of us were, trying not to giggle in this space as the door would open and the door would close. And slowly, eventually, other friends joined us. But something very, very magical energetically had happened. We don't know what it was. And a connection was made in that cupboard. Sounds so strange now. Sounds so strange. And I remember the following day, we actually spoke, as in we had a few conversations. And my friend, I remember saying to me, oh, no, Kate. He's a commitment phobe. You don't want to be going out. You don't want to be taking a look at you, and you don't want anything to do with that one. That will only end in tears. So we had this magical Sunday, this big group of friends where every now and then Ewan and I would come together in conversation. It was literally like two surfers meeting on various waves, on various timelines, you could say, throughout the day. We'd find ourselves by the same tree, or we'd find ourselves making a cup of coffee at the same time in this enormous house. It was very interesting in hindsight. The weekend came to a close. I went to work the next day. And I remember the first person that I spoke to, and I worked in the public sector back then. The first person I spoke to said, "Did you have a lovely weekend?" Because they knew that I'd booked this house and it was out of my comfort zone. And out of my mouth, these words came through me, not from me. Out of my mouth came, "Yeah, I've met the man I'm going to marry." Within 30 minutes, the telephone rang at my place of work. And it was this human being, this magical creator called Ewan, saying, "I know this is very, very strange, but I have a sense that you and I are going to be having an adventure through life together. Can we meet?" And so we met that week, and 25 years later, we are still married. We have 2 beautiful children who are all grown up now. We dance together through life. We have died 100 times over as we keep evolving and keep changing and keep growing and keep learning from each other. And if you had said to me that a game of sardines and choosing to step into that particular cupboard on that particular night would lead to a lifetime of joy with the person that I can only describe as my soulmate, I probably would have not believed you. But what I've come to know, Vincent, and I would say this to anyone in your audience, is that I know that just like any relationship, there've been ups and downs and roundabouts, and ours has been an unfolding. And I gave myself a very, very clear instruction about a decade ago. And the very clear instruction I gave myself was to see Ewan with fresh eyes every day, to welcome in a new version of Ewan every day, to let go of any thoughts I had about him from the day before, any assumptions that I made about him. And that has been the greatest gift that I could ever have experienced. And what brings me the greatest comfort of all is knowing that we have danced together in many, many, many different lives and iterations and realms and dimensions. And so even if we mess up this one, even if it all goes a little bit Pete Tong, I know in my heart, in my magical soul, that we will be dancing again somewhere. And so that is my story. That is a story that I offer to you about how magic has transformed my life. And it's a tale of 2 magicians.
Well, that's beautiful. Thank you so much, Kate. Now, do you think there are any deeper lessons that are in this story that my audience would love to hear?
So many. I think the first lesson that I would share is the invitation to see anybody in your life, everybody in your life, whether you love them or find them challenging, is to see them with fresh eyes every day. Because so often we base our relationships on assumptions and perceptions that are old and outdated. And we do not see and sense and feel the truth of who another person really is.
Yeah.
That's the first thing I would offer.
That's a very
second thing,
beautiful lesson, one that I'm
yeah,
certainly going to take to heart, but you've got a second one, so yeah, carry on.
yeah. Just on that point, the real life impact of that, of taking that approach with other human beings, is that we give ourselves permission to grow, we give ourselves permission to evolve. And I have 3 wedding rings. I have 3 wedding rings, Vincent, because it occurred to me that I am literally not married to the same person I was previous decade or the previous, I always, there comes a time where I sense that this wedding ring, this doesn't feel true anymore. It's a kind of nice excuse to get some more sparkles as well. But it's, for me, that's a physical manifestation, a physical reflection of the fact that this partnership is evolving, is expanding. And so you and I stand out like sore thumbs in our community, because we are a little bit bonkers, a little bit odd in that regard.
When you say
But
community, you mean kind of rural Cornwall?
rural Cornwall,
In the
yeah,
UK, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, Ewan has a talent for happiness. When people ask me what he's like, I just say, this is a man who has a natural talent for happiness. And it's the second thing I would offer to people. We talk about, in this world of magicians, looking at life through the eyes of a child and being in awe and being in wonder. And Ewan embodies that like nobody I have ever met before. And I used to be someone who was quite serious. I thought being grown up was about being serious.
Yeah, that's what we're
I
told.
thought being a magician was about being serious, even taking everything seriously. And I used to, I'm embarrassed to say, dismiss some of Ewan's more, what's the word, flamboyant, childlike nature. But I've come to see that when one assumes that place, that state, that energetic vibration as default, that's when the magic really starts to happen. So I have learned so much from living in the energy and being around this human being who can manifest anything just like that, literally just like that. He needs a glove, there it is. He needs a parking space, there it is. He wants money, here it comes. He just has this natural ease about him. And it comes from really being present in nature. It comes from really being present in life. And it comes from being big-hearted and generous and joyful in that presence. So that's the second thing I would offer to your audience in terms of profound life lessons.
Great. Well, thank you for that, Kate. Any more, or shall I wrap it up?
Oh, I could go on for hours and hours and hours, Vincent. Hours. But I'm very, very aware that, I do have a tendency to talk for 3 hours nonstop. So I'm doing a very good job of containing myself today in service to you and your audience.
Well, perhaps somewhere down the track when you get back from your travels, we can have you back on and with another story and perhaps get some more of these deep lessons. So thank you so much, Kate. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. And just one last question. How can people stay connected with you?
Best way to stay connected with me at the moment is to come and follow me on Instagram. So my Instagram handle is kate.mccavana. and I'll spell McCavana for you because nobody could ever spell it. It's McCavana. And well, come and follow me there. And if you want to hear from me, let's say in more depth, then I invite you to DM me on Instagram, and I will add you to my small but perfectly formed email list, my deliberately curated community tribe of fellow soul travelers on this journey through the game of life.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So if you'd like to learn more about Kate and her work, and you missed that link that Kate just gave you, or if you'd like to learn more about me, my work and finding magic, because there's only so much that we can cover in any one episode, then please head over to my website, vincentgmelling.com, and you'll see a podcast button at the top, and that will take you to where you can access the podcast episodes. There's a list of places there, places like Spotify and Apple and all the top podcast platforms. And if you scroll down a bit further, you will see links to all the resources that Kate has shared with me. Okay. The place has, as I said, a full list of podcasts, a full list of the platforms where you can get them, and also a link for you to join discussions of the episodes. And if you'd like to share your story of magic on the podcast, I'd love to hear. And there's a link for that too. And on the website, there's also another button for you to get my book, Getting Into the Flow, which I held up earlier, not going to do it again. And finally, there's a button for you to engage with me through coaching and the trainings and events I offer from time to time, and for you to contact me. So that website again is vincentgmelling.com. And thanks to you all. Usually I thank the local birds, but they've all gone to sleep, and the golf course, and that's quiet now, and the builders have finished up next door. So we've had no sound effects. It's been very quiet. And I look forward to catching you all in the next episode.